to join us here in the LEC. Vitality on the blue side, Casey on the red. They get rid of Ziggs, Yike, and Annie. Khan, Nako, and Azir banned out by Vitality, and it's a first pick Jayce.
That is quite the crazy lock in here. A big takeaway from Canna, as he is our best Jayce player in the league, and we'll see if Nako can make a statement on this pick.
I'm also wondering if it is to hold open that flexibility where you can put that Jayce in towards the mid lane for Czajek. I want to say he's played it before, maybe not this split, but in the past. And then if you end up taking something like a K'Sante that because Canna was hovering, then take the Gwen into it and you can flex those champions around. But KC at the moment going for the Aurora, which holds its own flexibility, so kind of answering tit for tat.
Yeah, it's a good pivot from KC here, not getting baited into that K'Sante lock-in, as you say, because then Vitality could flex that Jayce and get a really good matchup into K'Sante, but now they can just have the Aurora go into the Jayce if they want, or even flex that as well. And with the Xin Zhao now locked in for Yike, another really strong early game jungler that he can look to have a lot of impact on as he's had this series.
Yeah, we're kind of falling down the ranks in terms of junglers. You know, Pantheon gone, Jarvan gone, Wukong gone, Vi gone. Where are you looking if you're Lyncas, right? You could go for something like a Maokai if you just want area control. You could go for something like Sejuani for a similar sort of idea, and that is where they're going to go. So Sejuani obviously really solid with the Jayce.
That's what I was going to say. I think it works with the Jayce, especially if you are putting that Jayce into the top side. But even then, regardless, you can always, again, keep that flexibility there, go for a melee champion in the top sides. So I imagine we're probably going to see something like the, I pick here, sorry, for Carzzy in the AD carry role, just to try and secure that ADC in this position, because I think keeping that Jayce flex works well into this next rotation.
Yeah, for sure you want to try to keep this flex. I like the Sejuani, a pivot from last game saying, we didn't have enough CC. Lyncas, no more Sed, you're on Seju duty.
Oh, the Jhin is the pick for Carzzy. Game 4, and you bring out the Jhin. There's a certain serendipity to that. Looks like K'Sante is the pick for the top lane. Aurora will be flexed into mid for Vladi.
I wonder how much range Vitality want to opt in towards here, because things like Hwei for Czajek could be an option here, things that can hit from very, very long range, and at the moment, like K'Sante, Xin Zhao, even the Aurora to a certain extent can struggle with things that have range in them, and if we're already looking at banning away more of these engaged supports, I think there's very little in the that is left that KC can really operate off of engage from that bottom side.
Yeah, I'd love to see Vitality just all in on this poke comp. We saw it earlier today. BDD on the Zoe went absolutely crazy. I think if you go for something like that or the Hwei, you have so much potential here to just play with your Jayce, Jhin, all so far back. And as you said, with all these support bans and Game 4 of Fearless, there's not a lot for Targamas to look to, and you can end up in a situation for KC, as Vitality was last game, that now you're the team with no real engage. Yeah,
Blitzcrank banned away as well, which is one of those engage supports alongside the Leona. Zoe, you mentioned from BDD earlier today, actually one of Czajek's most played across his career. It is 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th most played, 14 games on it, 71% win rate on it at all time.
The only thing that's going through my head is, can Targamas maybe bring out something like a Maokai support here? So basically going, hey, we're not gonna, that's at least some engage that we can try and play around, and works against a lot of these long range compositions. And they are going to leave us to that last rotation, but definitely something to keep your eyes on if you want to try and go for those.
And now with this Aphelios lock-in, I'd love to see Vitality go for this really long range mid poke champ that can just continue punishing KC's comp, because Aphelios is really weak into poking champs when he doesn't have engage from his own team, and unless Targamas can find the rabbit out of the hat, I don't think they'll have it.
Yeah, I mean, there's little bits of engage for KC, right? Aurora ulting in, getting the slow, Xin Zhao with the follow-up for the knockup.
There we go.
Zoe. As we said, 9th most played across Czajek's career. 71% win rate on it when his average win rate is 55%.
That's pretty good.
A lot better than average on this champ. Where are we going for support for Vitality? The Pike's banned away, so you don't really have that execute possibility that Fleshy is so good on. Is he just going to look for something that can add a little bit of safety for his Jhin? Tahm Kench does exactly that.
I like it.
Yeah, some disengage.
Yeah. I think it's a great round out. As you say, disengage. You've already got a ton of long range, good engage coming through from both the Sejuani, and honestly, if you can get into a good position as Vitality, the range or the engage from the bubble is so good as well with Zoe. And I don't think Thresh is going to cut it here. It's just not going to add what you need to try and close this gap onto Vitality.
I mean, Thresh provides some safety towards the Aphelios, but the Karma as well. Like, there's really not a lot here that Targamas can lock in to help them.
I'm really worried if I'm Thresh and I'm looking at this comp.
Yeah.
Because like, you stun yourself when you go for a hook, and there is so many ways to poke you while you're trying to step up. You are a Lantern bot, and you can do work in the lane. Like a good hook onto the Tahm Kench or onto the Jhin early doors, you can put some damage down, but later on, you are going to struggle with the amount of poke.
But I feel like if you're getting value out of this Lantern, it's the fight's already lost and you're running away. Like, it doesn't feel like it adds anything to this, and I think, as you say, like, the CCing yourself to throw that hook is just miserable into what Vitality have. And even if you land the hook, the man gets eaten anyway and saves, so it doesn't matter.
I mean, I think for KC's side, it's really about winning this early game. It's about snowballing through this Zhao, through this Aurora, because if you can get a lead, you can always look to run over poke composition. If you have a lead, you're first on the map, you don't need to worry about setup, and you can just play easily. But if you fall behind and you end up needing to be the team that's face checking into Zoe, Jhin, Jayce, you're going to have a miserable time.
It's going to be bullet hell for KC if they fall behind in this game, but will it be heaven for them if they take the win here? They are one step closer to their world's dreams, to going to Madrid alongside MKOI and G2, and one other team, currently unknown, will be making up the 4 that we send there. For Vitality, last chance saloon, do or die right now. They need to win this game. They're going to keep their dreams in both the LEC and internationally alive for 2025. It is a long rest after this if you don't win this series. As we see, Fleshy are looking towards the mid. They're not going to find anything. As Targamas is just covering here, acting as a bit of a recon, a bit of scouting. Vladi not stepping too far forward, and Vitality won't find anything early doors.
And Spellbook here on the Zoe, abusing that rune as well. So we'll
utilizing it appropriately, I believe, Jack.
Yeah. We'll see what she can get done with it.
And we will. Oh,
we're getting hyped.
the music really pumped up there. A little bit later than I'm used to, I'm going to be honest. But a couple of questions coming out from a few chats there. How are they killing K'Sante? I don't think they need to. I'm going to be honest. Like, if you get ahead and you have poke, you can just poke out everyone else. K'Sante can block a few of them, but eventually he'll die.
It's similar to game 1, where even if they couldn't directly kill the Sion early game, they had enough tools to just slow them down or to kill the carries to make him useless. And in this game, I think it's even easier for them because they have so many tools to keep the enemy at bay and to just keep them at range and poke them out.
Yeah, I think it's just hard for K'Sante to try and run at them. Unless KC, as you say, get an early lead and then they can set up on objectives first and have like flank angles for Canna, sure. But if you've got a face check into this as to what Vitality's bringing, it's just not going to be a fun time regardless of how tanky you are.
Canna using the ward in the bush there to stop Nako from dropping minion aggro in this sort of situation. You'll still take those couple of extra auto attacks, and in a range versus melee matchup, you take every extra bit of damage that the range player can have on them as the melee opponent.
I am a little surprised to see that Canna opted in towards the Graspy and Down instead of the Aftershock, because oftentimes in these range matchups, you'll see the K'Sante take Aftershock, and K'Sante scales super well off of resistances, and you up your all-in potential, because you're just not really going to get a huge amount of value out of the Graspy and Down, so that's generally what I've seen into matchups like this for the K'Sante.
I think even Spellbook could make sense with how often that rune is played. But we'll get to see. We can do a grasp check-in to see if he got any value out of the rune later on.
How many stacks does he need to have got value out of the rune?
More than Jayce.
More than Jayce. Okay, we won't track it. I don't think he's going to have more than Jayce, I'm going to be honest.
Especially because the Jayce can just auto you, change into melee form, and get the Grasp Million down as proc at full value for a melee. It's just, it's very unfun to play against.
And Nako winning out the push in the early game up towards this top side. Bot side going in favor of Vitality, and they're using it to invade. Vladi trying to come across here. Czajek does have the ignite from that spell thief. Smite going down. It's Lyncas that secures it. Then he dashes in with the Arctic Assault to play. Back onto him means he has to flash. Wind becomes lightning and Lyncas becomes dead. The follow-up onto Carzzy as well with a Q3 and 2 already. 2KC, and they're looking for more. Tongue lash from Fleshy. Stops Yike's advances, but once again, KC come out early game and they come out strong.
It was so unnecessary for Vitality. This is such a good position to be in with this draft. If they just let this game play out nice and slow, they can get their wins through the extra range they have. But trying to invade just gives those windows for KC to find what they need.
A huge misplay by Lyncas here. They're able to get the blue buff through a nice smite, but then he Qs in, misses it, doesn't get the W either, gets played back, and everything ends up landing onto him, and Carzzy ends up falling as well. And this is exactly what KC needed to leverage an early game control where they can actually snowball the game into their own favor.
Yeah, a kill on both your carries alongside it. Vladi getting one, Caliste getting the other. A couple of summoners burnt. You can see Vladi and Yike's flashes are down. Only Lyncas burnt his on the side of Vitality, so there's a small window where maybe you could do something as Vitality, but Aurora not the easiest to gank, especially in one of these shorter lanes, because you can just go across the veil. She just jumps out of sight, goes invisible, and then runs away from you.
Yeah, you put yourself in a difficult position now as Vitality, because even then when it comes to the early stage of the game, trying to trade effectively in mid and in bot now becomes more difficult. Getting the control that you want for an early dragon or for these void grubs becomes more difficult as well. And again, they didn't need to do that. It's a bit of an unforced error on Vitality's part.
It's not what you want to do when you are trying to scale up into the game. You can see what they were thinking. It's like, oh, we stowed away the blue, that'd be nice. We have bot prio, we have mid pressure. Maybe we can go for it, but a little bit overeager afterwards to go for the fight. Caliste very happy to have got those Berserker Greaves as his first base. Puts the Graviton down onto Carzzy, can look for the root, but won't decide to use that enhanced Q. Targamas wasn't going to go for the hook. There we go.
Yike is here.
They put the lantern behind, and Fleshy's the one who's caught out. Does have the flash, has thick skin as well. Doesn't use either. Fleshy falls for the third kill in the game. Czajek looking for a bubble. Only hits onto a minion.
And it's further KC being able to continue snowballing off of Yike's good proactive plays. Mistake from Vitality bot lane ends up getting punished, and Czajek tries to move to get something out of the play, doesn't get anything, and lose some minions out on mid as well.
And now KC in a position to look for Dragon. They've got positioning on bottom side, and even the fact that Czajek is shifted down towards that bottom side, it's kind of these like small moments and resources that are being invested for Vitality that are just blowing up in their face. And this is a very early Dragon, which sets up nicely now for a void take after as well.
This is going to look for this deal.
Yeah, with Czajek
has
on the flank.
Puts the bubble down onto Vladi. They're looking for the smite fight. The Drake currently at 2,000. Abyssal dive forward by Fleshy, but immediately played back to flash away from Targamas. Lyncas on the Drake, has that permafrost propped on it. And should be able to get the smite. KC disengage. Good job from Vitality to force them off the Drake.
And a nice punish by Vitality here. It ends up being a flash-for-flash trade from support, but crucially, the Mountain Drake going for the side of Vitality, and the second Drake now being Chemtech means we'll probably have a pretty good soul on our hands.
And actually a nice timing window from Vitality. Vladi hadn't quite ticked over to level 6. He was 2 minions or even 1 minion away from ticking over to that. So being able to abuse the fact that Czajek had that little bit of an advantage in that was perfect as alongside the positioning that Vitality had picked up.
A nice little flank from them overall. Vladi not having his flash as well meant he had to play so safe. Couldn't really step up into the Zoe. He's trying to find her poke in this mid lane. So the gold lead for 4 members of KC. Czajek flashes forward with the spell that he has stolen away on that spell thief and gets some damage down onto Vladi. Still has obviously the flash of his own alongside an ignite. Grubs up in 30 seconds. We didn't see the traditional 4-minute swap. This time a 7.5. The TP coming out from Canna towards that bottom side. Both Nako and him have invested them. Another bubble's going to land. There's the lantern. Targamas standing in front.
Crucially, Nako cancelled Caliste's base, so he's really delayed for this top side here. Gonna lose a few minions. And maybe Carzzy can even try to get a plate. No.
I think he's going to look towards the grubs.
Yeah. They're about to
push in mid as well. Vladi just forced the reset. So you've got a lot of room here for Vitality to try and pick this up. And I mean, they started off very well for KC, but just small things here for Vitality having the pressure on towards Caliste, stop the reset. Oh, hang on.
Turn and call for Targamas, just forcing them away here. Not really going to get too much. Tries to bend the bullet at the end, but Targamas safely standing behind Yike. Carzzy and Lyncas should be able to walk over towards this mid lane. Abyssal dive out from Fleshy to make sure he's safe. Caliste trying to take a plate. And one more auto should be enough, but he can't quite get in range, so won't be able to pick up the plate immediately.
No grubs, so he doesn't get up. 3 grubs for the side of Vitality here after this play as Lyncas
He should just give this up. Arctic Assault across the wall. You don't have Smite. Just accept that. Okay, you can have the Gromp. Canna pretty low down towards this bottom side. But he's been doing a good job of surviving through Nako. He knows he's going to lose this lane. It's kind of to be expected. So if he can stay within 300, 500 gold, he'll be happy enough.
Yeah, I think for KC, they had a great winning spot. But then just the fact that, again, these small things happen means that Vitality are now in a better position. And the key thing for me is if Vitality are in the tempo lead, where they can set up first and get to objectives first, that's where they are most terrifying.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're a KC and you're the ones that are like, okay, we can set up for a position for Canna to look for a flank or Vladi to look for a flank, suddenly that's where you're no longer able to use that range as Vitality and you become much more vulnerable to the all-in from KC.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm happy to see that both lane didn't end up snowballing too hard for KC, as Carzzy's pretty equal across the board to Caliste, only a 300 gold lead for him, which is pretty negligible.
It's a relatively even early game between the two teams. We thought, as you say, like after KC picked up the first 3 kills, that bot lane was beginning to snowball. Vitality have done a good job of weathering that storm. They are still behind in jungle and in the bot lane. A small lead for Nako up towards the top side as Czajek looks for Vladi, can't find him. Yike waiting around the corner here. Wind becomes lightning. Across the veil goes Vladi. You're not going to be able to find too much more. Glacial Prison will get the slow deadly flourish. Not enough to root Targamas.
Couldn't quite get the setup for the Deadly Flourish, so KC able to get away, and all it cost was Targamas' heal. So at the end of the day, KC going to be very happy that they afforded that one. Whereas Czajek now much more vulnerable in that mid lane when this ultimate comes back up from Vladi.
Yeah, Czajek TP'd back to this mid lane, and then immediately had to burn his flash and recall. So he's going to be pretty sad about that one.
Does have the unsealed spellbook, so already has a heal back up and, you know, can steal a flash from someone else. That's what Zoe does. Just find 1 or 2. He's going to lose one of these minions, but the cannon is there for a paddle star to connect with if he wants. Instead, takes out the back of the wave, jumps forward, gets his passive proc, and takes out the cannon.
Beautiful wave play-by-play.
Thanks, man. I still remember, I think it was Freak in the mid lane. Farming minions. It was just that entirety of a moment in the game for him. We like back in the good old days, we had some weird games of League of Legends, especially in EU and NA.
Old days?
I mean, we still do, but like, there's Elder Drake now, there's Arakan, there's a lot of ways to throw the game on the way to end the game. Whereas in the good old days, you know, Drakes would just keep spawning. You just get gold from them, you know?
Yeah.
Now, I'm very curious about this Jayce grass procs. I know we talked about Cassandra grass procs, but I feel like I'm seeing like Nako proc that rune repeatedly on Canna over and over again.
We'll find out for you, Jack.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll get one of the observers to have a look at the exact numbers for us. It's hard to see when you just hover over the champ because it doesn't actually show. It just shows that he has grasp available to him. Both of them have grasp available, Jack. Okay? So 1-to-1, I guess, is the...
Yes.
Vitality trying to set up around mid lane here with that Chem Drake up. They'd love to get their second on the board already. KC using bot lane to try and push forward and deny Vitality at least a few minions. Carzzy's going to try and get his way across here. Targamas, the target. Deadly Flourish going to land. He puts down the box. Now needs to flash the wall and manages to do so. Half health though, and without that summoner, it will be much harder for him to fight around the Drake as Canna takes a chunk. Now Nako continues to put the damage back into that Cassandra, who does have TP.
But look how patient Vitality are playing this bottom side of the map. There's no overcommitment. Now it's KC who feel forced to start it because they know they're just taking so much poke from Vitality.
The curtain's open. Caliste takes 1 bullet. And the next one goes into Yike, who's stunned up. Crescent Guard coming out. He takes a quick nap in the river and takes the lantern out of it. Manages to escape. Caliste, a new target though, as Flashy tries to get on top of him. Carzzy coming in from the side as well. Caliste has both his summoners, so should be able to escape any clutches of Vitality. Lyncas though still looking for the dive here. Vladi goes between worlds and dashes away, dodges away from the bubble. Caliste was able to extricate himself from any situation that could have been developing in that bot lane. The Drake did go over to KC.
Good play by KC as they're able to get the Drake, and it's going to be the Cloud Soul, which will be so crucial for both teams here. Getting that movement speed will just help playing against this poke competition. So
I have a proc update.
Yeah.
41 to Nako, 2 to Canna.
41 at 13 minutes is insane.
That is a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot of props.
2 is insane, but for the opposite reason.
I think maybe you're right about that after healing. I think that grasp is not getting huge value.
But if the game goes 50 minutes and it's all team fights, he can get 5 in a fight, you know? Like, absolutely.
He can get up to double digits on those numbers.
Wow. Has the Iceborne Gauntlet complete, Collector and Leandries alongside the Sundered Sky round out Casey's first item buys. On the other side, Nako's still short of his first item. And we have a Heartsteel, a Luden's Companion, and a Yumu's. Okay, Vladi still gets hit with the bubble, but not in trouble for now. He just wander his way away.
So though, I like how Vitality are trying to play this with just constantly putting pressure off of some of the advantages that they have. As long as they can keep control of River, they can continue to kind of force KC back, and trying to move through these chokes is perfect for Vitality. Against Czajek, walls that he can look through for the bubbles, Lyncas can protect them really well with the ultimate. So for KC, it's kind of like trying to bust through the pressure that Vitality has. It looks like this could work if you had a jungler behind you, but it's just more fake pressure from KC.
Carzzy has great guns for a possible Rift Herald fight, but his Severum is about to expire. Czajek with the fancy feet goes from the unsealed spellbook, enough to dodge away from everything there.
Nicely done as Czajek able to step away and keep himself alive. Rift Herald is up and available though, so kind of surprised to see Lyncas on this bottom side of the map. I thought there would be a bit more pressure towards that for Vitality.
Deciding against it for the moment, just using that Jhin in the mid lane to keep control of the wave wherever he can. Carzzy's guns will have cycled by now as Nako jumps back in onto Canna, knocks him away, and just autos him for good measure. Canna's still doing a really good job of staying even in CS. Czajek chunked out a little bit in the top lane, but can work his way down to join up with the rest of his team. Caliste sitting on purple-blue, Gravitum Infernum, the hook landing from Targamas. Glacial Prison's going to follow him up. There's the deadly flourish, and pop goes the Thresh. Taken out by Czajek and Vitality. Czajek flashing away. Lyncas doing the same. The Infernum with the Moonlight Vigil, not enough from Caliste to get through Vitality. Deadly flourish dodged away by Vladi. In the end, a 1-for-0 exchange.
And I'm surprised KC nearly were able to get the re-engage there after Targamas got out, but it ends up being just 1 kill for Vitality, and you can really see the power and the lockdown of this Vitality composition as they just layered all their CC onto Targamas, and he couldn't move.
At least the saving grace for KC is that the win wasn't convincing enough for Vitality, so KC will actually be able to move in towards Rift Herald as Vladi TP's the top to get the push and then shift in towards the objective. So from KC perspective, I think saving Rift Herald is pretty huge. Vitality are a team that wants to snowball the game, wants to get towers down, so it's more difficult for KC to get into position on the map. And denying that opportunity thanks to Rift Herald is pretty nice.
Lyncas a little bit too late to the party. Wasn't able to get the steal off. Mikhail's first for Targamas here, really investing in keeping whoever is caught out safe. We so often see that redemption rush, and Mikhail's, you know, it's a similar type of item, an enchanter style item, I'll say. It does give a tiny heal alongside that QSS, the cleanse for whoever it is used on.
I mean, it's huge value this game up against the Jhin, Zoe, and the Sejuani. Just so much that you need to save your carries from, and maybe even with the Mikhails, it won't be enough.
Depends who gets caught. Caliste has a cleanse and the Mikhails at his back. He should be able to escape any situation that happens, but obviously depends if Targamas is close enough. First item complete on Nako. He's gone for the Yumu's Ghost Blade, building up that Mana Mune as well. Already 270 sacks or so on his tier. So basically, as soon as he buys the Mana Mune, it will be upgraded into the Mura Mana. Vitality trying to play around mid with 10 seconds on the Cloud Drake. Second of the game for either of these two teams.
See if Targamas maybe is the target there.
Yeah, okay.
He's gone.
Okay, Deadly Flourish coming out as well. He's not going to die. Paddlestar out, Czajek dodging away from the death sentence and is devoured by Fleshy to make sure he survives the between two worlds from Vladi. Canna trying to come in from the side as well. Yike going forward. Rift Herald has been summoned by KC. They'll use it to charge into this mid-tier 1. Keeping Caliste topped up as well. That Severum helping out a ton as Czajek tries to put the damage across the wall. Fleshy looking for an Abyssal Voyage. Rift Herald used to charge away, but Yike is dismounted, dashes back in, exhausted immediately. Fleshy with the thick skin, not enough. And Caliste will begin to open up. There's the Mikhails. from Targamas to keep Caliste safe. A good hook landing onto Lyncas. Nako now joining the party. The KC will settle for one and then walk towards the Drake.
The patience we saw in game 1 from Vitality just isn't here in game 4. They're trying to overforce in the plays at mid, especially Fleshy, and ends up costing now Canna trying to chase down Nako, but supporting the wings.
Lyncas needs to be a little cautious here because an all-out would pull him across the wall. Canna, though, gonna go for Nako instead, then dash forward, takes the lantern out. Permafrost will hit the stun. They get the Drake, they get their top laner out of a sticky situation, and KC now 2 Drakes to 1 and a 1.2 thousand gold lead.
And overall, it feels like KC are just able to continue finding these good plays over and over again. Even though it starts off with Caliste getting chunked, it's over-eager, as you say, Rob, from Vitality that ends up punishing them. As they're not quite willing to just settle for just a chunk, just a little bit of damage. They want to try to get the kills, and that's ultimately what ends up punishing them.
And this can be the difficulty with playing a composition like this. You kind of have to be very sure you are dotting your I's, crossing your T's, getting everything in position on the map for you correctly. Because if you end up messing up, things can go bad very, very quickly. And unfortunately, that's exactly what we saw for Vitality there. But for KC, I mean, great on them. They've been doing a good job of finding moments to go for the all-in, turning back these plays on Vitality. And Targamas in good position with the hooks to follow up when Vitality do overextend.
And Caliste with the right guns around fights as well. Having the Severum there really changed the landscape of that fight. If he was half HP and having to step up without the extra lifesteal, the extra healing you get out of that gun, would have been a very different state of affairs. Still a pretty close game between the two. KC feel like they are slightly more in control, but it can change in a moment. All it takes is a good bobble into a paddle star, and Targamas or Vladi or Caliste all go pop. Vitality still trying to play around this Otacon. The threshold down, as Lyncas will just dash out into the redemption. Who's the Otacon going to chase? Oh, well, Lyncas won't be too happy. It's headed his way. Goes back towards Yike. Fleshy puts a ton onto Targamas, but it's not going to be able to follow up with anything else. The rest of his team still in mid lane.
And it does,
Carzzy and Nako over there.
It does feel like this game's on knife's edge, but Vitality are not really able to contest how you'd want them to with a comp like this. You'd really want them to be fighting and contesting around mid-wave, but it doesn't really feel like they can get anything done. You see now Nako is here, and they're gonna be able to get this wave, but then Nako immediately needs to run towards the top side, and they immediately kind of drop all the control of River once again.
But also, it kind of feels like they are contesting before they have their ducks in line. Like, you got Lyncas going in when Czajek is still trying to push out bot wave. You don't have control over mid. Nako is only coming out of base to move to mid to join you. And it ends up giving the tower then to Canna. Canna now TPing to the bottom side.
Nako doesn't have TP.
And that's what I was going to say, yeah.
They saw him top and immediately they just go and say, okay, let's gain control over this Otacon. Let's gain control over this area. Not too much damage on the objective as of yet. It's about 13,500 HP. Nako trying to trade with Targamas towards the top side of this. Walks away. Canna not in the best of shapes. The bubble's going to land. Does have the lantern, but he's asleep for a second. Manages to dash across the wall. Vitality might use this as an opportunity to keep on that Otacon.
I want to keep my eyes on Czajek and how he's positioned for these bubbles, because it could define everything here. Yike playing out of range as the rest of KC barrel down mid.
And KC looking for mid push. Now they're going to start to collapse. Canna's still half HP. Does have the all out. Can try and separate Lyncas from the fight. The death sentence dodged. Yike dumping in. Crescent guard out. Lyncas lands the smite. Otacon goes over to Vitality. Lyncas needs to get the hell out of there. They're all retreating. The curtain's open though. Bubble onto Caliste, but it gets cleansed off immediately. The curtain's not enough. The root lands. Inferno. Moonlight Vigil will not chunk out to Vitality. In the end, the objective goes over to Vitality. And KC tried to find the fight.
And it's disjointed by KC as Canna TPs in when Nako doesn't have it, but they're not quite willing to start the Otacon, and Vitality pounce on the opportunity. They get the Otacon, they get the disengage off, they're even able to nearly take a few kills down, but don't quite have the damage to do so.
I think the fact that they managed to get that Otacon is huge for them, because in all intents and purposes, that should have been KC's objective. But as you say, indecision, going back to play KC, and we saw that against G2 in that game 3, where there was that back and forth of, do we go for Otacon, are we going for Dragon, what the hell are we doing? And it kind of coming through once more for KC. And now Vitality with the push away of KC, setting up much better for the siege now, starting to get a bit of control, and this is where they get a little bit more dangerous.
Yeah, 20 seconds before the Drake comes up. Look at the damage. Remember, the damage that comes in after the bubble is amplified as well, which is why you see that Deadly Flourish doing such a chunk onto Targamas. This is where Vitality want to be in position first. Vladi going in though, goes between the worlds. Fleshy's going to be redemptioned up, tries to dash away, still has the thick skin. Another bubble's going to land, but only onto Canna, who can path maker his way to safety. Nako TPing into the mid lane. Yike taking damage as he tries to join up with the rest of his forces. Nako looking for the flank here, looking for the mid lane prio. Guns on Caliste, Infernum, Severum, pretty good for a fight. Now it switches over to the Crescendum, great at close range, doesn't really have a lot of range in his arsenal right now.
I think Casey just has to give this Drake here, with Vladi having no ulti now and them having dropped the position. It's free Drake for Vitality.
Vitality being able to control the walls there was crucial. Again, like having the ability to set up for Nako. Oh, hang on, Canna? No, he's going to be alright put. And then Czajek to be able to fling damage over the wall.
Nako, it's a death sentence, a lantern to follow it. They're going to give it over to Caliste, who happily accepts the gold, and perhaps the mid lane tower alongside it. Fleshy looking for this. Lyncas coming in, has that Glacial Prison. Caliste still has the cleanse, death sentence wide. Carzzy with the Deadly Flourish. Yike, Mikhail's immediately through the Glacial Prison.
But top lane has been taken by Vladi. They are pressuring off of two lanes. Not quite able to take it down, but still Vitality being pulled every which direction as KC find the pick.
Big mistake from Nako there, as his team is doing the Drake. He doesn't expect KC to be the
Baron Rush. You've got red white.
Oh. Yeah.
Baron Rush
perfect
immediately.
weapons here. He's gonna get the green now. Green white. He does this so incredibly fast.
Kinda gonna be able to zone off Carzzy as well from being able to enter. Vitality now have to face check it.
Yeah, Lyncas and Fleshy going to face check towards the top side. Death Sentence landing, but a cleanse stolen away by Czajek. Now Canna is on top of the Zoe. He slept. KC turn off towards Fleshy, the first target all on his lonesome. Cleanse from Carzzy. Moonlight Vigil coming out as well. The Gravitum, he can get the root. Yike's going to go for the chase, but flashes and misses. The wind becomes lightning, still dashes forward with an audacious charge. Carzzy trying to run for the hills. The 4-shot movement speed won't be enough to save him. He trades though for the enemy jungler, and that's Baron off the menu. The shot down for Carzzy. Lyncas trying to run, trying to escape. A good shot blast from Nako. Death sentence wide. KC still on the advance. Lyncas trying to get away, trying to use his top lane as some sort of support, and he might even escape. Canna's still chasing the blast go, and Toe throws enough. The flash from Canna into the knockback, enough to kill off the pig.
The Q3 is the 4th K for KC in that play. The fact that you're able to chase them down so effectively and draw them into these positions where they really don't want to be is exactly how KC want to win out in this game.
And KC are playing this game masterfully. They're able to punish and pull Vitality all towards every direction, which makes it so difficult for Vitality's support jungle. You see Fleshy is up to the side, Lyncas the same. Lyncas ends up wrapping all the way around, which means now Fleshy's in trouble. Lyncas can't help him. Carzzy tries, so he has to burn his cleanse. Caliste ends up landing the ultimate on him, forces him out, and then Czajek dies to Vladi as well. Nako tries to join, can't quite get there. It's all just so messy, and that's exactly what KC wants.
The curtain's open. Czajek looking for Targamas here. Canna with the path maker will avoid the CC the bubble provides. A 4k gold lead for KC. Drake up in 2.5 minutes. But the Baron really the dividing point for these two teams right now. Vitality trying to defend without their mid or AD carry, who are just joining the fray. Another bubble, and again it's onto Canna. It's not the target you want. They're chipping away at him, but he is really damn tanky.
Yeah, this is the problem with Vitality's comp when you fall behind. Now they really don't have enough damage to get through this front line. It's so hard to make this poke actually stick.
Vitality just going to try and clear out a little bit of vision. Their year in the LEC on the line. Their year in League of Legends tournaments on the line. For KC, this is an expected step towards Madrid, towards a possible final, towards Worlds. This is what the team has been building to across the entirety of the year. For Vitality, game one, a huge upset. Perhaps looking to follow in the footsteps of other teams today.
And it's difficult because Vitality have stepped up over the course of this, but KC, They're just a different beast. And Vitality, even though Summer started to look so good for them, it may just be that little bit too little too late. As KC stepping forward once more, commanding the space, and Vitality, they're just ceding so much control every time KC show up.
Yeah, Carzzy's on 2 items right now, almost 2,000 gold behind, has a Laure Regards and a Yumu's. It's damage, but it's not the most effective damage coming out from this Jhin.
Yeah.
Czajek still looking for that poke, looking for the prods in, almost has the Rabadons complete, maybe that's enough.
He did have health Caliste, so at least if Czajek can get the damage, he's in a decent spot, but he's kind of been matched by Canna every single time. And there isn't really the follow-up from Vitality whenever that paddle start does hit.
It's hard as well when you have a Mikael's and a cleanse. Like, do we jump onto the Sante? He can Pathmaker and negate all our CC. If we jump onto Caliste, well, he can cleanse and flash, has Moonlight Vigil for Severum healing.
Yeah. Czajek also has to be careful when he goes forward. He has no flash right now. So if he ends up hopping forward and Targamas can get the hook onto where he portals from, could be immediately lights out for the Vitality mid lane.
It's hard. Looks like Vitality just needs to drop the Drake here. They weren't able to get anything on the mid waves. That's really their point of contact, is trying to get some poke that'll actually stick on these mid waves in this open space. That makes it really difficult for the KC lineup, but when they're not able to get that, KC get everything.
Carzzy now is on a 3rd item. KC truly in the driver's seat of this game. It's being played at their pace right now. The Atakan take by Vitality, it's a small mercy for them, keeps them a little bit closer in terms of gold disparity between the two teams, but still, KC really run the map. No one can answer Vladi on a side lane. 4-0-2 on this. Aurora has the Leandries and the Bloodletters alongside a Haunting guys. And they're sending Nako to try and deal with him. One of the only players on Vitality with a gold lead. In fact, I'd say the only consequential gold lead that Vitality have in terms of player to player.
It's interesting that Vladi ended up going for this very HP stacking build, which means that he now as well is not really that easy of a poke target for the Vitality squad, while still having pretty good damage of his own.
The weirding there, you can see, chunking out Nako has to be cautious. Vitality very much on the back foot. You can see how deep they're catching these waves, how passively they're having to play.
Yeah, and it's easy to go, well, we say that KC is in the lead, but they're not really doing anything, but unfortunately that's kind of the way their comp operates. If Vitality decide not to interact, they won't interact, but they're interacting.
Oh, Mikael's used by Targamas and Glacial Prism just a bit short again. As the final bullet grazes Targamas' cheek, doesn't connect. Vladi's going to be able to take a tower down towards this bottom side. Yike was here shadowing him to make sure that if Nako had stayed around, Nako would be donezo. Nako steps into the bush afterwards, has to burn the flash. Yike there for the follow-up. Nako down, KC get another.
A phenomenal pick by KC, and again, it's just more nails into the Vitality coffin. They won't get much off the back of it, like looking for the tier 2, but the resets now and the move up towards that Baron area and keeping control over that area is going to be crucial.
It's also the one point of strength really for Vitality. Nako has been taken off the rip for 30 seconds. There is a Baron available to KC, and they're beginning to ping towards it. Vladi's going to get that mid lane pressure that we talk about, so paramount to securing these objectives. Vitality have to walk into some darkness. They have a couple of wards just outside of the pit. Vladi going to chunk out Lyncas a little bit, who's trying to get in here. The hook doesn't connect. Lyncas flashes into the pit, and immediately KC turn, but Lyncas burns down the Baron. The hook lands. Fleshy with a cleanse away. Carzzy running for the hills. They just need to get these Barons out alive. Carzzy and Czajek will survive with them, but now Yike still chasing forward, but can't find anything more.
Lyncas holding on to this game by the skin of his teeth as he's able to get that steal, and you can see the health bars on KC relatively low off the back of it, so they just couldn't follow up to try and finish off the last member.
Yeah, Lyncas, the hero Vitality so desperately needed, as he's able to get into the pit using his flash, queuing forward, and then this flash, oh, just barely he's able to secure it. And Fleshy, despite having the cleanse, ends up going down as well.
Also, just the Czajek's flash damage actually getting the Baron low enough to be in smite range. You can see KC all stopped hitting it, but the fact that Czajek hit Caliste gave the Baron enough damage that it could just barely be finished off by Lyncas.
Yeah, really nice coordination there by Vitality. Great play as well from Lyncas to Arctic Assault first and then flash, because Targamas was playing him over the wall. If he flashed into Arctic Assault, he wouldn't have got over that wall, would have been in the Baron pit. So good decision making by Vitality, but it might be too little too late. They are 5,000 gold behind in this game, and they have to win it. They have to win it if they are to advance any further in the LEC this year. If the rookie experiment of 2025 is to pay off for them, I think you could argue it has already paid off. I think all of the rookies on Vitality have evolved and leveled up a ton this
100%.
year. But for them, they do not want this to be the end of the road. The KC, they're looking just to take that one more step up the staircase that leads to Madrid, and they are doing it relatively effectively. Pretty flawless in Game 2 and Game 3. This game, they're still in a commanding position, perhaps a little bit more of a struggle now they lost that Baron, but there's only a minute remaining on it as Yike jumps forward onto Lyncas, has the GA at his back to heal him up. Between worlds goes Vladi, the weaving doesn't connect, but it's Canna who's hit with the Glacial Prison and just takes the lantern out. KC disengage the fight.
They tried everything to keep it going, but now Vitality, they're going to start to push forward. They want to see if they can get that poke damage as KC start to disengage. But KC now, cooldown's back, want to go again.
Yeah, they step forward behind the umbrella of Canna, who protects them from any of these hailstones being aimed in their direction. Drake up, Soul available for KC. Vitality looking to fight it. Earlier in the game, these sorts of fights paid off for them.
But they had the tools, they had the major cooldowns, but now...
Lyncas hooked immediately. He's going to be devoured by fleshes. They try and get him out. Knocked back by the Intopos, perfectly timed by Canna. And there's two more to add into that death note. Make it a third as Carzzy falls. Czajek left standing, but for how much longer? Pops the exhaust onto Vladi, uses the cleanse, takes the blast cone, dashes away. Vitality are looking for the mid lane tower at least. They land asleep onto Targamas, but the weirding enough to take out Czajek. Nako now running, but with 30 seconds left on the rest of his team, what base will he be running back to?
And KC will look to run down and get as much as they can here. Still long death timers on the carries of Vitality. And now with the Cloud Soul, Caliste is so damn fast with the Lantern as well. He needs to have no fear.
KC, you want to break open both of these inhibitor towers. Mid lane done. KC now set their sights on the bot.
I think they might be looking for the win. Canna's going to TP back into this. I mean, Czajek's still 20 seconds away. Do you take the 4v5? Do you go back? Do you spend your gold? KC posturing as if they want the win.
Nako has some good wave clear if he can get that accelerated flash or shock blast onto the backline here.
KC, they can see it in their eyes. 3-1 would be the scoreline. Canna's going to clear out that mid lane wave, but they do back away. Yike low. They decide to spend their money, and the curtains open. Targamas clipped with a bullet. Canna takes the next one. The third one missing. KC walk behind their bouncer. Under the protection of Canna, they are able to stroll out of the Vitality base.
And all KC need is maybe a pick. Nope, they're going to back up. All they need is to recall, run into top, play for that third inhibitor, and the game is pretty much over. As we have a look back on this fight, a great hook by Targamas. And even though Fleshy gets the eat, Lyncas, it's just not enough. With Canna with a great Q3, they're just able to run them down and the fight is just over.
Yeah, KC, the positioning that they have is just too strong at this stage. Like, you can see that you've got the Aurora keeping the Jayce off of being able to enter in towards the play, so you don't get poked from that side, which makes it very easy for Canna to just stand there and absorb everything that is being tossed at him. And at this stage, it's just not particularly strong with the deficit that Vitality are in.
I mean, they're just so far behind. It's going to be so difficult for them to find a way back into this game. Naak is pushing out bot side to try and keep their super minions as far away from the Nexus towers as possible. Czajek looking for any angle that he can land a sleepy trouble bubble from, but they're just not opening up for him. Caliste absolutely melts the tower. Carzzy gobbled up by Fleshy, spat back out towards KC. The redemption down. Carzzy will be healed up by it. Nako TPing in, but this is triple in here now for Karmine Corp.
Vitality are definitely trying to hold on, but their base is in tatters. And KC have their sights set on Madrid, have their sights set on that next match that can get them to Worlds. And they don't want to let Vitality stop them.
KC with 3 inhibitors now. They have full control. They're going to look to cheese. Fleshy.
Oh, the hook just wide of connecting on the catfish. Yike takes another chunk. Canna, he's been a target, but he's not the target you really want. Caliste just opens up with the Infernum Zebrum, switches across to Calibrum. He looks for that little bit of extra range. The Baron available to KC. Madrid in their sights, as you say, Rob. And a possible spot at Worlds. KC will take the Baron Vitality. I mean, are they even going to be able to step in here before it's gone?
They're trying.
But Canna on the front line between Worlds. The sleep on Vladi. Almost enough to take him out, but he dodges away. Caliste kills off Carzzy. Vladi almost fell for it, but Vitality get the Baron. Sorry, KC get the Baron. Vitality get nothing. And now KC will march down with a man advances. Czajek being chased away by Canna. I don't think he's going to be able to get back in time. Does have the TP, but Canna continues to hound him and harass him in that blue side jungle. Yep, Czajek is down. It's 3v5 the defense for Vitality, but they just don't have the wave clear. KC, they took game one personally. They'll be going to Madrid. We'll see who they face on Monday. Vitality, their season ends here. KC continue to build the blue wall.
Questions were raised, and KC answered them with a resounding roar. Phenomenal games to end out this series for KC.